Welcome to another edition of She Unleashed. She Unleashed is, of course, brought to you by Pumza Gyani, and I always make it a promise to bring you the best in the world. I bring you the women who have been there, who have done it, who have observed life, and are willing to share the pearls of wisdom with their sisters. Today, I'll bring you a truly inspirational author, and she's also a life and business coach. She has written a book that we will talk about, which I think is such a gift for women, and especially women who are growing in corporate, especially women who are making decisions on pivoting on their own. Tumi, it is such an honor and a pleasure to have you as my guest for today. Tumi Sibanda, welcome to She Unleashed.
Thank you so much for having me, Pumza. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Tumi, you are a multifaceted woman who is an author. And on the side, you also work with women. And you work, I suppose, with a broader audience than just women. You're a life and business coach. Who is Tumi and what is Tumi about?
Yeah, very good question. That question, when you ask many people, a number of people don't know how to answer it. I did a podcast one time saying people feel like they're in an interview, a job interview, when you ask that question. So, who am I? There's a number of faces of who am I. But really, if we go back to the roots of who am I am a mother. That is a very important role for me. I cherish that role very much. So I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a cousin. That's who I am socially. And professionally, I'm a life and business coach and slowly becoming a business strategist for small businesses. So that's who I am. That's what I do. And I am a rural bred woman. And I'm also a township bred woman. So I am many things in one. When you really get to sit down with me and get to hear about my life, my upbringing, you will realize that I am many things. But most importantly, what I value the most when people want to know who I am, I'm someone who values authenticity. So I love engaging with people from an authentic self, my authentic self. So authenticity is very important to me. Integrity is very important to me, and respect is very important to me. So that's what makes me who I am.
What a powerful response to me. And you are raising parts that we almost discount because, exactly to your point, being multifaceted is what prepares us for the world, because you come into the world, you are pushed into different places and cultures. It helps that our context has always been open. You've survived in a rural environment, you've lived, you've made you've had to grow up and see how resourceful rural people are. I love that answer. Location, it gives you another dimension. And only when you travel, you start to see that actually that street smartness, it helps you in other countries to always be awake. I love your answer. It is a very comprehensive answer. Now, Dumi finds herself being a life and business coach, as well as she decides that she will not end there. She will also write a book. What inspired her to do all of these things?
So this is my second book, Pumza. I wrote my first book in 2015. And the reason for writing that book is just a few steps. If I were to take a few steps back, around 2010, I experienced what I would call vocational disturbance. I was in corporate and I was starting not to enjoy what I was doing. And the work that I was doing was so emotionally taxing that I ended up really feeling ill, but not acknowledging it, that I am not well, I am stressed, I am fatigued, I'm exhausted, and I am not feeling this. And I wasn't enjoying my job. anymore. And there are layers to why I was not enjoying my job anymore. And that I had to find out much later as to what it is really that led me to this space. And that's the topic of this book. So I wrote that first book then, and the idea was just to bring awareness of what we go through. It's not just women who go
Mm.
through that, but women in particular, professional women go through phases in their careers where one gets to a point where you say, I am now feeling stuck. I don't know
Wow.
where to next with my career. So when I wrote that first book, I was just bringing awareness to that to say, this is the kind of topics that came to me, that confronted me when I was experiencing this. Now, why I wrote this second book, You Are Enough.
Mm.
I've been coaching since 2011.
Mhm.
And in my coaching practice, I coach, I think 90% of my clients are women. But it doesn't matter whether I'm coaching a woman or I'm coaching a man, this issue of feeling inadequate, being pulled down and, you know, put down by the past that one has been through, our childhood. I've experienced a lot of my clients really being held back by their childhood upbringing, their experiences,
Mhm.
and not being aware that is happening to them. And and I have seen how, from personal experience and also through my clients, how feelings of inadequacy, doubting yourself, and not believing in yourself, your capabilities, and always sabotaging yourself. It kills many dreams.
Mhm.
It kills so many dreams, and I'm sure you've experienced this where you would have an idea and there would be this rush in your body and you feel this is an idea for me to pursue.
Mm.
And then as soon as you say that, your mind starts having a different conversation with you,
Mhm. Mhm.
reminding you of how not enough you are, how not equipped you are for this opportunity that you're talking about. So you bring out all the learned fears over the years into the fore. And before you know it, you're no longer excited about this excitement and you're not even doing it anymore.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the reason why I wrote this book was to actually help people to put a mirror in front of them, scrutinize their lives, and really get to recognize where they are at, whether feelings of inadequacy is a factor in their lives, and whether it has even manifested itself into imposter syndrome and how it impacts their lives. How has this held you back?
Mhm.
Because we live our lives on autopilot, Pumza. We are not aware.
Mm.
We're not walking around being fully aware as to where our decisions come from,
Mhm.
our daily decisions, where do they come from? We don't know the beliefs that are driving the life that we are living right now. So I wanted to bring that to the fore. So the first thing, the reason for the book, it was awareness. And the second thing was for people to be able to almost self-coach,
Mm.
um, so that they can, dig themselves and mind themselves and get themselves out of potential pits that they might be sitting in and they're not aware that they are.
Mhm. And tell me, what do you think is the reason for all of these inadequacies, and could they be the same from one person to the one person? What I'm asking maybe there is, could a same experience trigger the same kind of response in two different people? So I'm assuming that I may feel inadequate because there was poverty in my background and so on. And so I've come to the world almost feeling like there's an inadequacy. Someone growing up in a similar environment, would they be the same, or is it differ? Does it differ by personality?
You know, I'm sure you've had this phrase like fingerprints. We are so unique
Mm-hmm,
as
mm-hmm,
individuals. We are so unique that the experiences that we get, we attach different meanings
mm-hmm,
to them. You
mm-hmm,
know, when I do this work, when I facilitate, I always say we see the world through different lenses. Each
mm-hmm,
one of us has got a different lens.
mm-hmm,
And what determines the kind of lens you have is your upbringing, your experiences when you grow up. And in the book, I talk about early messages that one receives from childhood. So you may have people who are born into the same household, but it doesn't mean they are receiving same experiences. Whatever you experience is unique
mm-hmm,
to you.
mm-hmm,
So that's how the lens that you see the world through gets built. The kind of meaning you attach to the experiences that you have, which is why someone might say, my growing up in poverty, I see it as an opportunity, or it's a drive for me to build a legacy and take my family out of
mm-hmm,
poverty. Somebody else might say, I am doomed. I am born into poverty. This is my life, and this shall be my generations.
mm-hmm,
So, how we are brought up from childhood is very important. The early messages that we get from the adults that surround us, whether it's from the home, whether it's in schools, and whether it's even in the playground,
mm-hmm,
whatever messages we get in childhood, they help shape us. So they help form the beliefs through which we live our lives.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So those experiences, they might be the same, but the outcomes of how we interpret them might be different from person to person.
Mm-hmm. Now tell me, in your work, which is life coaching and business coaching, how difficult is it to actually go back and reform or reformulate these messages to someone who is as old as Pumza, who's 40 something, and still appearing in a context of a boardroom as someone who's inadequate?
A very good question, Pumza.
Mm,
Um, because we are all walking around with childhood scars
mhm,
that we are not even aware are dictating how we show up in
mhm,
boardrooms, in bedrooms,
mhm,
you know, everywhere where we show up, our childhood scars have a role that they play. And the power is in us being aware that they are playing a role in how we
mhm,
show up right
mhm,
now.
mhm,
Okay. So, you know, there is this term called neuroplasticity,
mhm,
that we can still grow our brain. We can rewire our brain.
mhm,
So the beliefs that one grew up with, we're not condemned to live with those beliefs until our demise. We can reprogram our subconscious mind with new beliefs that will start serving us. And here's a phrase that I always say to my clients, that who you are right now may have been enough to get you to where you are, but may not be enough to get you to your next level.
mhm,
And this is where we need to then start realizing the importance of how can I rewire my brain?
mhm,
So we can rewire our brain. It just requires us to bring the awareness to the fact that the beliefs that we hold right now may not necessarily be serving us well,
mhm,
and we may need new beliefs. And it's also very important when Apunza to realize that for us to be able to get to that space, we have to go inside and say, what are the beliefs that are currently dictating how I show up on a daily basis, so that you can then replace them. The same amount of work that you put in to become who you may not like right now is the same amount of work that you would need to put in to become who you want to be, which is someone that you would like. So it's very important not to expect that you are going to just like that become a new being. So first you need awareness. And once you've got awareness, and then bringing on the new beliefs that will help you start deliberately living your new way of being. So you're going to be building, neural pathways in your brain over time that will help you. There's debate as to whether it takes 21 days, 66 days, or 90 days, but it's a way of life that you have to start to deliberately doing until it has become second nature for you. So if you're showing up in a boardroom, is the showing up that says, I'm timid. First, you need to have that awareness to say, how am I showing up when I'm in the boardroom? Am I showing up apologetic? Am I showing up as not knowing what I'm talking about? Am I showing up as being afraid? And once you've realized that, you need to go back and say, what are those beliefs that make me show up this way? What is my self-talk? What do I say to myself when I'm supposed to show up in boldness in the boardroom? Do I start saying to myself, you're faking it? You are not worthy. You are not enough. And some of those messages, they just happen automatically because you've programmed yourself over time to believe that about yourself.
Absolutely, to me. We actually had this conversation with a friend of mine over the weekend that somehow the conversations become so much part of you that you cannot separate. Is this the conversation in my head, or is it now, you know, is it me thinking these thoughts? And we actually took it down and break it down, broke it down. We laughed about it. And I was telling her, I was saying, the funny thing is, I almost can even identify the voice, the texture of this voice. And I laughed. I said, it sounds like my mother. And and I was explaining it to say, it's always anxious, it's always like this. And we broke it down to say the separation, and we said it's so distinct to how you would want spoken to or speaking to your child. How difficult is this work if there are even times when you can't even differentiate that this is Pumza's character versus what has been informed by beliefs and the incorrect messaging?
Yeah. It's a simple process, really, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the process is this. What is your modus operandi? There is a belief that is in your mind that helps you to show up in the world. There's a saying that the universe, because we are powerful beings, the universe will help you to show up the way you believe you are. So if those messages, let's say you brought an issue about your mom, a lot of people have got issues with their mothers, relationships with their mothers, and they don't realize how those early experiences they've had with their mothers dictate how they show up right now, even with their daughters going forward. So if, let's say, for example, if your mom had said to you, why can't you be a lady? When you speak up, just an example, hypothetical example, you speak up, you speak your mind as a child, and every time you speak up as a child, you are toned down. And as you grow up and become a teenager, a woman, as you're trying to speak up, you're told, why can't you be a lady? And in your mind, that builds this belief that a lady doesn't speak up. right? So it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a belief. It starts operating because it would have been said to you so many times. It starts operating, on autopilot. So it's automated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that you now consciously think about. It's at the back of your mind. It's in the subconscious mind. Whenever there is an argument that needs to be put on the table, the voice that you're saying you hear, that is that belief is saying, remember, ladies don't speak up. And you find yourself, there will be a conversation here. They say, I want to say something, but then that voice at the back says a lady doesn't speak up.
Mm-hmm.
They don't speak their mind. So you will suppress, you'll find suppressing yourself, right? And you would walk out of that meeting and ask yourself, but why? And
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't understand that until you sit down and ask these questions to say, this is how I show up in the boardroom. What is this belief that is sponsoring this behavior?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of work that we will do in coaching to get you to that point. Some people are pleasers because they've always wanted to please their dads, and you name it. So there's different ways that we show up because of how we were socialized. So it's not easy, but it's a simple process because you just need to replace or come up with a new belief that you will deliberately start um, entrenching into your life, into your behavior. So, in other words, if you're going to start to say, my words or my voice matters, that's a new belief. If you
Mm-hmm.
say, my voice matters, and this is how I want to show up, I want to be able to contribute because my voice matters.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into the boardroom, when the little voice say to you, ladies don't speak up,
Mm-hmm.
you remind yourself consciously and say, my voice matter. And you push yourself out of your comfort zone and speak up. And
Mm-hmm.
you do that a number of times, your mind starts getting a new message to say, we speak up when we need to speak up because my voice matter. And you do that long enough, and that's how habits are formed. You do that long enough, it starts becoming not pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, but it becomes part of the zone where you operate.
Mm-hmm. What is the importance of coaching in really helping, the ladies to come out more? And I'm saying that because I think you've responded already on what hinders a woman from speaking that, and it has a lot to do with their background. I'm asking this because there tends to be a resistance to, you know, self-development and coaching and so on. How important and what have you seen maybe in your kind of experience as the highlights of people going through coaching and showing up now in their power?
So I must underscore that human beings, we are very afraid to do self-introspection, to self-reflect, to
Mm-hmm.
really put the mirror in front of us. Because when you put the mirror in front of you to reflect, it's not only the good that's going to come out about
Mm-hmm.
you. I always refer to the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Uh-huh.
When you reflect, that's what you're going to get, the good, the bad, and the ugly about you.
Uh-huh.
And many of us, we're not taught how to take that, to say, wow, is this me? I never thought this would be me. I don't think I am ready to accept what I am seeing. And that's where the importance of life coaching comes, because you have a partner in conversation who really helps you or takes you through this process. And they create a safe space for you to be able to put the mirror here, and with the powerful questions that they ask you,
Mm-hmm.
and with them being, empathetic, understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and helping you not to judge yourself, not to be hard on yourself. It's very important that you have such a partner if you're going to look yourself very deeply. If you're going to dig deep into your life, it's very important to have a coach. The other
Mm-hmm.
important thing of having a coach is that coaches ask questions that we ordinarily do not ask ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
we don't often ask ourselves difficult questions. So when you are coaching someone and they are saying something, you hear beyond what they are saying. You hear more than what they are saying because you are also looking at them. So you're hearing here and you're also hearing the underlying issues. So someone might be saying, the way I'm showing up in the boardroom, it's really irritating me because I want to say something, but I don't say it. And I beat myself up when I come out of that boardroom. What you are hearing is potentially I'm sabotaging myself with this behavior. And what I'm doing is self-sabotage. And then you can then go deeper and get to understand, where does this self-sabotage tendencies come from? What is the root cause of this? And in what areas of your life does this behavior of self-sabotage come? And the more you ask questions and someone digs deeper into their life and understand, they get an aha to say, oh my goodness, I'm doing this to myself. And this is what opens up people to then say, I would really want to have even a journey with you as a coach to help me, unravel more of who I am and who I want to become. So coaching is a valuable tool. We as coaches, we have coaches too, because as a doctor, you're not always available for yourself. You need others to be available for you. Yeah.
Tumi, I am finding such an interest in your story and to also understand that we almost always respect people who have their own story and journey to talk about. And normally, I think the coach is almost respected because they've been through the dungeons as well. Tell me a little bit about your awakening moment because I'm sure it was not always like this wise to me that we're talking about, who's now a life coach and a business coach and everything else. Tell me about your own journey to the self discovery and to the Tumi that we see now.
Yes. A short answer to that would be buy the book. But
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm
that
with
would
you
be the
there.
shortest answer because I really highlight a lot. But I just want to say I've lived my life on autopilot, like many people do. I've lived my life on autopilot, opportunities coming my way and taking opportunities. So I would follow, this opportunity, follow opportunity until I got to a point where I started asking this question, and that was in my 40s. No, not my late 30s, just before I hit 40. For 2 years, I lived with this question. There must be more to life than this. What's out there for me? Because at that time, when I was becoming what I call vocationally disturbed, it was becoming harder and harder for me to be engaged in my work, to want to go to work, because I was feeling like something is missing in me. I had a huge void here. So that was the experience that I had. And I lived with this question for 2 years, keep asking it to say, and not that opportunities were not coming. I had opportunities that were coming for me, but they were not opportunities that I knew would fill this space. And during that time, I didn't know that my feelings of inadequacy was in operation.
Okay. All right.
I only got to know that in hindsight as I was dissecting my life. And this is which is the subject of this book. But to your question, while I was asking myself this question, my mentor, one of my mentors, really advised me to take a break from the work that I was doing. And I was fortunate that in the organization that I worked in, I was allowed to leave this job and start a new role altogether. So I started a new skill, which was like an interruption of my autopilot. I didn't know that. that was what I was doing. It was not something that I was like deliberately saying, I want to interrupt. I was taking a break from the job that was consuming me.
Mm-hmm.
But in hindsight, it was in an interruption of the autopilot that I was living in. And what happened with that move was something that I did not expect.
Mm.
I, I started asking this question even more and more. And I started hearing myself think. After a very long time, I started hearing myself think. You kind of like hear your thoughts for a first time, like, oh my goodness, I've been in such a rut,
Mm.
just doing.
Mm.
And during that time, I was fortunate to have someone coach me in the organization that I work with. Although I never finished the coaching sessions, but the few sessions that I had, I knew there was magic in that.
Mm.
And I thought I needed to do this for myself. So I started researching coaching, and I found neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And I registered myself while I was still employed doing this new role. I registered myself for neuro-linguistic programming. And I was thinking for myself that I'm getting myself out of this place. I'm going to start, something new, a
Mm-hmm.
new skill that I can, start afresh, because I was running away. I was really running away. And what I got out of that course was more than I bargained for. I got a breakthrough. For
Wow.
the first time, I got to realize that I didn't know who I was. I just lived. Here I am, a mother of two, in my late 30s. I didn't know who I was. I was just
Wow.
living. That's when I realized, this is the hindsight that I'm talking about. That's when I realized that I lived on autopilot for a very long time in my life. So that breakthrough of now getting to understand, who am I? What do I value? And really, what is my life about? That question I was asking, there must be something out there for me. What's out there for me? Now I'm starting to get the answers as I'm going through this course that I was thinking is a skill that is going to help me run away. But then it said to me, here's a mirror, girl.
Mm.
Look yourself in the mirror. And I found my good, bad, and ugly about myself.
Wow.
And I got my breakthroughs. And from then on, I really never looked back,
Mm-hmm.
living a life of choice. And I coined myself a motto saying, one of the greatest gifts that a human being has is the power to choose. So from then onwards, I said to myself, everything that I do is going to be by choice. I'm going to be so deliberate with my life. I'm never allowing myself to go into autopilot again. So it's a question of myself, keeping myself back on track. Whenever autopilot takes over, I have to keep myself back on track, because the life that I lived before, living on autopilot is not fun.
Mm.
It isn't.
Wow, what a revelation there, and what courage in you to actually go and find out, because that's always the challenge, isn't going and finding out. Now, when did the decision for Tumi to also do this for others and become a coach to others take place?
It, it almost was like instant.
Mm-hmm.
When I discovered that I didn't know myself, and that's why I was struggling, you know, I was kind of like swimming against the tide. I then made it my mission, and therefore my business, to help other people really find out who they are, so they can connect to their personal mission and
Mm-hmm.
really live a life of significance and a life of impact. And that has been my mission from 2011, to say
Wow.
my mission is to help people connect to their mission so they can live a life of significance and a life of impact.
Tell
So
us
it
a
happened there.
Wow, that is so powerful, and we are eternally thankful for that moment. Tell me about the Tumi before this and before, in terms
Mhm.
of demeanor, because you've spoken to me, you've told me that I was on autopilot. But if I were to meet Tumi before 2011 and this Tumi, would I tell the difference in my conversation with them?
Yes, this to me knows how to say no. That is what one of the skills that I'm so proud of.
Uh-huh,
The ability to say no and not feel guilty
uh-huh,
about saying no. And also to walk away from opportunities that I don't believe will serve me, or I would be of value because I wouldn't be fully in it.
mm-hmm,
So that is the to me now.
mm-hmm,
Before before I became a coach, or before NLP, let's just put it
mm-hmm,
that way. Before NLP, I was known as a hard worker, right? Not that I'm not a hard worker now, but
uh-huh,
I was known as a hard worker. But the hard working was really um, trying to please, trying to, show up. I wanted to really please.
mm-hmm,
So I was
mm-hmm,
doing things, even things that I should not be doing,
mm-hmm,
and I was doing for others and not doing for myself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I think this will resonate with many people, not just women, but many people, where you find yourself depleting your cup. So the to me before NLP and becoming a coach, or before the self-aware to me, I would give everything away out
mm,
of my cup, and I will deplete myself, and I will still keep going, having depleted myself, which is why I ended up being sick and even not acknowledging that I was not well when
mm-hmm,
I,
mm-hmm.
I was not
Yeah.
well. So that's the to me would have met before.
Sure. That's hitting home, hey? Now tell me you are enough, so what? What is the message behind that? You are enough, so Pumza, live your life, or you are enough, so Pumza? Give me three words that maybe are the essence of the message.
Step fully into your greatness.
Wow.
You are born great. You are
Mm-hmm.
enough as you are.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've got that awareness, be deliberate about it. Be
Mm-hmm.
deliberate about being great. Just step into that greatness every single day.
To me, this is the confusing part for me, and I think it's the messaging that we're giving as women, and and I think it takes a lot of internalization for us to actually acknowledge what that message is,
Yeah.
because we keep on saying that Pumza, you are enough, but we then say, but there's a lot of work to do.
Mhm.
What is that one message that we need to maybe we are saying in all of this? And I think everyone gets lost in this. It's saying,
Mm,
and I think you said it, you come with enough. You are enough as you come to the world. In fact, when you enter the world, you probably know already then what your purpose is. It's just that a lot of things, like the experiences you were mentioning that happen, that are interpreted in a certain way, maybe dilute or they suppress what we are meant to be. So take me as I'm a professional woman, and now I've arisen to the fact that I am enough. But there
mm.
is work that still needs to happen. What is this work that needs to happen?
We are always work in progress, Pumza.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We are never arrived,
mm-hmm,
you know. And the minute you say I've arrived,
uh-huh,
that's when you're going to start regressing. So
mm-hmm,
you have to keep yourself in this space, in this lane, and keep the flow.
mm-hmm,
So if I were to look at, let's look at the mind, that whatever you teach your mind is what your mind will deliver for
mm-hmm,
you. So
mm-hmm,
if you're going to say, I've arrived and now I'm relaxing, so you're telling your mind, okay, let's not do nothing, you
mm-hmm,
know, we are okay in this space. And yet the world is moving. Things are happening outside of you. There is growth that is happening outside of you. So you cannot be just sitting still. So every time when you get to the realization that I am great, I am enough, I am worthy, the next step is that then start living. And
I
living is
love that.
work, right? You
I
have
love
to
it.
always be saying, where's the next, where can I step into? Where is my greatness required next? And you keep stepping into that greatness. There are people who are probably not born yet that are waiting for your greatness at some point. There are people who are in primary school that would require greatness at some point when they enter corporate. So you can't just relax and say, okay, I am enough and that's it. You have to really do what you were here for. And that's where the work comes in. You have to continuously believe that you are worthy, that you are enough, because the world is not going to just sit. It's going to knock you time and again. And you have to keep reminding yourself that you are worthy and you are enough.
So how does my posture change when I know that I'm enough?
You talking about your body, or are you talking just your showing up?
Just my showing up now. How do I show up differently once I know that I'm enough?
You have to find what your mission is. What is it that I am here for? What is my contribution? And step into those spaces that allow you to start serving and implementing this mission that has been planted for you or that has been charted for you. So your posture is to saying, I'm a contributor, I'm a server. That is the posture that you walk into spaces with. How can I contribute? How can I add value? Because we all want to die empty, isn't it?
Absolutely. That is so powerful, Tumi. Tumi, someone watches this and now they want to reach out to Tumi. How do they find you? And where do we find this treasure called You Are Enough, the book?
Yes. So I am on a number of social media platforms. I am Tumi Sibanda on LinkedIn. I am more active on LinkedIn, so people can find me there. But I've got my business website where my online store is at for purchasing of the book. And the website is www.coachingfordreams.com. So /shop. So you say www.coachingfordreams/shop and you find the online store there and my books in that online store. And otherwise, people can also reach out to me on Instagram. I'm very active on LinkedIn and on Instagram.
So what's next now? Now that we know that we are Tumis, we are enough. What do we expect to see from Tumi now? That's next.
To me is living. To me is serving. To me is making sure that her gifts are experienced by the world.
You know what I love about you, Tumi, that is so different to everyone else? It is just how you say that so effortlessly. It's not like you have to work to convince anyone that you are, you know what, this is how I feel about myself. There's no work that's involved there. It's just the true Tumi being authentic and saying, you know what, this is what I think about myself. Tumi is living, and I have nothing but absolute compliments for any woman who does it for themselves. And then they decide that, you know what, I'm willing to share the giftings. Exactly what happened with you. That once you discover this, you say, hey, I know a lot of other friends who could benefit from this. And, you know, you are who you are, and you have shown up as truly enough. Thank you so much for this interview. Maybe one last word to encourage my listeners to take a step to being enough. What can you say to them about especially approaching the part of coaching without fear and just being open to hear the good and the bad and the ugly?
So coaching is a gift that you give yourself. So if you've ever forgiven yourself, I would like you to think of coaching like forgiveness. If you've ever forgiven yourself truly, you know how much of a gift forgiveness is. So coaching really is a gift that you give yourself. No one wants to walk around not knowing who they are. It's not a nice place to be at. So give yourself a gift of coaching and surrender to that process and see what it unfolds for you.
Is it ever too late to me? Because I'm thinking of someone who thinks they are 70 something and they think that maybe there's no, value in me still going for coaching.
Not at all. I mean, we work with different clients from different organizations of different ages. You not until you stop breathing and your heart stops, you never stop growing. Because you don't know how much of you that is still left to be deposited in this world until you are taking your last breath.
Wow. I wish we could actually do a book study group where we actually go into You Are Enough and just talk about the various chapters about what was going on here to me for you, what was coming out. And I think that would be so powerful. But we will talk about how we do that, because I would
Yeah.
really like everyone to be encouraged to really buy the book, because you have done the work, you have gone back, and surely it will resonate with a lot of people, because I'm in a professional environment, and I can tell about myself as well, about certain aspects where I am acting out of not being enough. So it is a powerful book. I said that when we started, I said it was very brave of you to actually write it out and say you are enough, because people tend to disguise it and like going back to your roots or having all of these titles. I am so grateful that you came to She Unleashed, and I look forward to unbundling and unwrapping this, because I'm sure many ladies will buy this book, and it is the best gift we can give ourselves, especially coming after a moment of reflection and COVID and a lot of thinking. So I'm sure a lot of them have gone through the vocational instability or disturbance. So,
Yeah, vocational disturbance.
so this may be the best time to actually reflect as we are preparing to go back, to actually say, do I really want to go back? Thank you so much to me, and thanks for the generosity, just the generosity of spirit. Thank God you have not completely lost that with the nose.
Absolutely no. I know where I am required to serve and I serve when I need to serve.
Thank you so much. And there you have it to all our listeners. This was really a very enjoyable conversation over a very serious topic, because really the essence of who we are and how we show up has a lot to do with what we tell ourselves, what the stories we've bought into. So please do visit Tumi. She's very active on LinkedIn. That's where I picked her up from, and Instagram. And also for any coaching that you may want maybe to engage her for, she's available on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Tumi, and it's such an honor to have you.
So much.